back of my head right now that is the purpose of this, because the Eisenhower one, or the Churchill one is full information, but again, it's totally debunkable. Anybody would look at that and say, oh, well, this is just somebody, this is somebody saying something.
I'm not going to speak for Stanton Friedman, but I'm telling you right off the bat, I know the guy well enough from interviewing him that he'd be like, okay, that's second-level hearsay. How is he supposed to justify that or validate it? That's why it's a very difficult thing to prove. So where do you go here with something like that? I guess you got to digest it. To me, I just think it's kind of silly that for some reason a lot of people think that during that time period, during the 50s and earlier, that the UFOs were here, the aliens were here, and now they're not or something. It's absolutely ridiculous. So do you honestly believe, and I'm not trying to be a cynic, although it might be coming out that way, do you honestly believe that any of the reports that they're going to release aren't going to be in this blue book style fashion where you're just going to get the censored? It doesn't have to be blacked out to be censored. It could just be the documents they chose to release, which were the lukewarm ones, so to speak. And I think that's what we're talking about. I mean, look who we're trusting to give us the information, right? So these guys, of course, aren't going to give us the goodies. Okay? So take that as you will. Nick Pope can spend the next 2 years going through these things with a fine-tooth comb. The new guard is choosing to go about it another way and saying, no, we're not going to wait for you to tell us when you're going to give us a little breadcrumb. Sorry, we're not interested in even talking to you anymore because you're a bunch of liars. You're trying to turn us into drone slaves, and you're trying to steal all our money and make sure that our families and that we are in poverty and that we can't afford medical insurance and that our lives are taken up with all kinds of little tiny meaningless tasks so that we don't have time to focus our efforts on making world changes and actually influencing public opinion, to recognize that we shouldn't focus and be as excited about a memo from someone about Winston Churchill and Dwight Eisenhower 50, 60 years ago. We should be more concerned about what happened in the Clinton White House, what happened in the Bush White House. You don't think these guys were talking about UFOs? Of course they were. This is a huge topic. They weren't just talking about terrestrial-based stuff, folks. It's crazy. There's plenty of UFOs. Hey, Sandy, we've got someone on the line here since the show began. Let's go check out who this mysterious person may be, shall we?
Sounds great.
Okay. 256, you've been very patient. Who are we talking to?
Oh, it's Michael.
It's Michael. Oh, there's a lot of Michaels out there. Michael who and from where?
Michael Fleming, Huntsville, Alabama.
Hello, Michael Fleming. Sandy, are you familiar with this gentleman?
We are good buddies. We're good Facebook buddies. Not related, however, at least not that we know. Maybe soul related.
Are any of you guys related to Peggy Fleming?
Not that I know.
No.
Okay.
Sorry, Jesse.
I figured I'd go there. I'm a big fan. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, Michael, welcome to the program. How are you?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great. If you could speak up a little bit, that'd be great. Were you calling in tonight to ask a question? Was there something you wanted to bring forth to us tonight? Why are you calling us this evening?
Actually, I was originally going to call and talk about the chemtrails. I thought, I've kind of figured out that I'm calling a little bit early about that.
No, you're not. I think it's a good segue.
Hey, Michael, can you speak up? I'm really not hearing you at all.
Yeah, I apologize. I'm on a cell phone.
Oh, that's better.
That's better already.
Okay, good.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, about the thing that you were mentioning earlier about the reports coming out now. It's kind of interesting that you mentioned that, and it got my attention a little bit. I'll talk about that before the chemtrails if you still want to talk about that when I get done with this.
Absolutely. I mean, look, Michael, before you make a statement here, anyone who hasn't seen Do You Believe in Magic, MAJIC, if you haven't looked at the MJ-12 or read the documents, it'll blow your flipping mind. It'll make your head spin, okay? It looks like the real deal. It reads like the real deal. If it's a fraud, it's probably one of the best fraudulent documents ever created, okay?
Oh, no, I don't.
You think that this is going to turn heads? Read the MJ-12 documents, people. Okay, so I don't understand how this is making the mainstream news, and the MJ-12 documents never did. You know what I mean? It's very strange to me.
Yeah, I don't think it's a fraud at all. I think it was meant to come out, if you know what I mean. I think that they're doing this now as a hint to kind of like you mentioned, the carrot, dangling the carrot. Anybody who eats it, you know, what the carrot that they give to them instead of the other carrot, if they take their carrot, they're going to be led to the, you know, the end of the line. And the thing is with that, they want everybody to find out about the UFOs. They want everybody to believe in, you know, I'm not saying, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I don't believe in aliens, but I believe in a specific breed or type of them. They're called giants or Nephilim. I'm not sure if you've heard of that or not. Nephilim is like a Greek term.
Well, Nephilim I've heard about from the Bible, which refers to fallen angels, and sometimes the people that I know who are born again will refer to the Nephilim as demons.
Yeah, like half demon, half you know how people get abducted and they end up in Area 51 drawing the same things like for 6 months, and then the women will be abducted again and their baby will be taken. So, you know, they go back and they're like, why am I not pregnant anymore? Why, you know, I was pregnant for 6 months. I think I would know if I had a miscarriage, you know. And they end up drawing all these pictures about weird-looking kids in a cradle. And it's the inside of Area 51, to my knowledge. I mean, they started this, back in the 40s? They started the funding for Area 51, brought the technology from Germany where Hitler used UFOs. So I believe, I mean, that this is, you know, it's meant to come out now. I've heard something about...
I've heard way different... I've heard all kinds of theories about what's going on above ground and below ground at Area 51, Michael. The end of the day, I guess my opinion on it is that here's the strange part. There must be thousands of people that have been working at that installation since the early 50s, let's say, okay? Its inception, okay? Now the place is probably, who knows, maybe quadrupled or more in size and land mass as they've gathered tons of land, right? It supposedly has one of the largest runways, if not the largest runway in the country, if not the world. We don't know what's going on above and below the surface. Here's what we do know, is that these people who run the show there, which we don't even know who runs it, that's how top secret it is. People think it's the government. Well, guess again, folks, it's not the government. It's somebody else. The government doesn't have access, okay? You think the guys on the Foreign Technology Division actually have access to Area 51, like McCain and people like that? Think again. He doesn't, okay?
Right.
What's going on below the surface? But how, here's the big question. How are they able to keep thousands of people over the years so that I can count on one hand the people who have come forward to speak out about what goes on there? That is frightening in itself. You can't do that with any installation I've ever heard of in my entire life. So you can't do that about the White House. You can't do that about, you name it. So that's the interesting question, I think. I don't think anyone has a real answer about what's going on there. We hear all kinds of theories. But let's get away from that, and let's switch to this chemtrail debacle that's going on, because I think people are in for a big shock. And I know Sandy's mentioned that there's been tons of these things in the past couple of weeks flying around in the skies, letting loose this stuff in Los Angeles. And I guess my question here is, Mike, what do you want to tell us tonight about chemtrails?
Well, to start out, I filed a lawsuit in California, in San Diego, California, a federal lawsuit versus the Air Force. And, you know, I was talking to a gentleman outside of my apartment, and he, you know, just casually talking to him, he's like, "Are you in the military?" And I was like, "No." And he said, "Well, okay, you know, you just look like it because of the haircut." I said, "Are you?" And he said, "Yes, I work for, can't remember the exact name of the company, but they make the unmanned aircraft. Drones is what they call them, you know."
Okay. Yeah, the UAVs. Right.
Yeah, exactly. And that is what they use to fly these and spray these chemtrails. I mean, it's not actual Air Force pilots, but yeah, they spray, I mean, barium, glass, aluminum, and other stuff, obviously. Right. And yeah, the barium, it forms cyanide. That's the precursor to cyanide. And I've talked with a lot of government people about it, and any time that I go back and talk to them again, they seem scared. Anybody who will take the time to investigate, like something's been said to them, that if they mess with this, it's almost like I already know that they're going to, the next time I go back, they're going to act differently towards me, and I can't.
So you filed a lawsuit. Tell us about the lawsuit real quick, because we're running low on time.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I filed the lawsuit in San Diego. Nothing happened for a month with the chemtrails. They were all gone for one straight month. And the day that I leave San Diego to come back to Huntsville, I was planning on coming back here to live for a while and go back to San Diego whenever I needed to complete the court case. The day that I leave San Diego, the case is dropped for no reason. They mailed me a letter stating that, I didn't mention why they shouldn't spray barium. I didn't mention why, they had jurisdiction over.
So what was their explanation for dropping your lawsuit? You got a letter? How did they drop your lawsuit?
That was the explanation, that I didn't tell how it directly affected me, and I don't understand why I would have to tell anybody that I don't like barium being sprayed on me. I mean, I tend not to like to drink cyanide Kool-Aid, if you know what I mean. So
understand. Here's what's going on. This Saturday, I was approached by a long-term friend when I worked at Fox, who's doing I guess he's probably doing either the musical score or the sound for this documentary. Michael J. Murphy and a guy named G. Edward Griffin and a guy named Paul Wittenberger. They're all in the process of filming this documentary called What in the World Are They Spraying? Okay, it's an in-depth feature exposing the chemtrail agenda. It's going to be on at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. This Saturday, these guys are going to be on the program, okay?
Yeah, they were interviewing me in San Diego for that.
They interviewed you for the documentary?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. So you know these guys. Do you think that they're legitimate? Do you think that they know what they're talking about?
They know exactly what they're talking about with this program. I mean,
what is the worst thing that we need to know about chemtrails? So I don't want to ruin the show for these guys, but it sounds like, people want to know right now, and there's plenty of people who think this is a load of bunk, too, and a bunch of conspiracy wackos. What are some of the worst things we need to know?
Okay, barium, whenever it hits carbon and nitrogen, forms cyanide directly. You will not be able to grow any organic seed in cyanide soil, obviously. And the more alkaline the soil, the more poison it will be. It's kind of like an opposite thing with barium. And whenever it rains after the barium, it will go, 7 or 8 feet deep in the ground. And nobody's going to sit there and dig all day with a shovel to, get down to the natural soil to grow their tomatoes. They're going to say, okay, government, I know that you sprayed the soil for so long, and even though you said it was for global warming and it was disproven, and you all call the food now, it's a control thing. They've got all the money they want. It's a control thing now. If they can control the food, they can control the people.
When you say a control thing, what they're trying to do is what? Ruin the food supply? Ruin the crops? If
you can't grow organic food yourself and you're relying on the government or one source for your food, which is, of course, owned by the government, I mean, like 95% of it is already, then once they gain complete control of it, then they can't gain control of you or you don't eat. That's
understood. So let me ask you this. And again, I'm sure Mike's sitting there going, God, you're giving away all the goods, but I don't care. We need to know this now. I want to know if anybody would know about how the crops are being affected right now, it would be farmers, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
So what are they saying? Are they hip to this? Do they agree with this? Are they noticing a difference in how the food is being grown and negative reactions and things of such?
I can talk to people with gardens, and their gardens do horrible. I mean, I can imagine, just with a few acres of land that doesn't produce anything. I mean, if you don't have genetically modified seeds to withstand it, it's not going to work. You can't grow organic foods in cyanide. It's just end of story, with that. And they've even found, like, seeds with aluminum in them, as Michael Murphy will probably mention tomorrow or whenever you have him on.
Yeah, on Saturday. Yeah.
Michael, can I jump in here real quick? I remember hearing something about them already creating aluminum-resistant seeds. Is this something that you know about?
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. The seeds have like a little aluminum thing in them, so whenever they plant the seeds, they're already grown accustomed to the aluminum, and they're genetically
modified. Who made those seeds? Is this like Monsanto or the government that's backing these